All right, look, I want to move. I made mention in our discussion with David Seymour of this hui this weekend, this gathering organised by the Kingitanga movement. And when you say it's organised by the Māori King, it's really organised by Tuku Morgan. He is kind of the hand behind the curtain, the man behind the curtain for the Māori King. And it's organised by Tainui, who are also taking the government to court for some, and what I think, I would have to say at first glance, not as a lawyer, looking at their case for, they're breaching the Treaty of Waitangi because we're not reading the news in Māori on television anymore, and Waikato-Tainui is called the transport agency. And also, don't forget, Tuku Morgan and his ilk are the people who said there's going to be fighting, we're going to fight the government. But they're going to get together this weekend and clutch their pearls, basically. Is anything good going to come out of this, and what really is it all about? Well, one person who's had a bit to say about it is the Deputy Leader of New Zealand First, and of course now a Government Minister, Shane Jones, who joins us on the line now. Happy New Year to you, Shane. Nice to have you back.
Kia ora, folks. Kia ora, folks. Happy 2024. Lovely to be chatting with you again.
Yeah. All right. Is anyone from New Zealand First, as a member of the government or anything else, going to this hui this weekend?
No, not to the best of my knowledge. Both the leader and I, we have other commitments. And look, we don't want to get into a bout of incivility with the Kingitanga. Both Winston and I have had a long period of knowledge and experience. But the warning I gave to the Kingitanga is you're not a political party. And you should remain above the fray of the bear pit of parliamentary politics, because if you stray into there, be very careful what you ask for.
Yeah, that was actually an observation that Chris Trotter made to me in an interview yesterday. He said Kingitanga have negotiated for, a long, long time, negotiated the power they have in this democracy by being very careful where and how they applied that power. Do you see this hui and this conference, if you like, this weekend as a departure from their normal tactics?
I think the original attempt to move away from a very judicious line they were treading, they were judiciously treading a very shrewd pathway. The difficulty started, in my view, when Tuku Morgan and the Māori King called a national meeting pertaining to water ownership several years ago. That turned to custard. And I've been very clear that this particular meeting, people can have any private meetings they like, but it's become all too faddish because people don't like the result of the most recent election to conjure up images of disaster and images of dysfunctionalism and trying to pretend that there's not an election result which mandated a reset. So the Kingitanga and the people attending the meeting, they're welcome to go there and lay down their various kaupapa and their priorities. But know this from me, New Zealand First is not going to tolerate anyone demeaning the result that we legitimately achieved and enabling and thus being enabled to deliver on our manifesto via the coalition agreement.
All right. What about this legal action, which basically says the government's in breach of the Treaty of Waitangi because it's saying just lay off a bit on the use of all the te reo quite so much because it's annoying people?
The action, like the promoter Tuku, is vacuous. It lacks any meaningful content, and I struggle to see how it's justiciable. But I think what is disappointing within the Māori tribes is that Tuku and Waikato have raced ahead and done this of their own volition, and now they're calling a national meeting trying to get everyone else to endorse what they did without waiting for all of the hapus and tribes to endorse it as a strategy.
I was going to ask you that very question, Shane, because I don't understand it. I do not have the depth of knowledge you do about what I would call the Byzantine world of Maori politics in New Zealand. Are Kingitanga and the Waikato iwi the same thing or not?
Okay, so I don't want to put any of your listeners to sleep.
Yeah.
But Kingitanga is a separate entity from the Waikato Runanga.
Yeah.
Waikato, they call it Aratoda.
Yeah.
But obviously, everyone's kissing cousins in that part of New Zealand.
Yeah.
But the most important thing to bear in mind in relation to this meeting is people are struggling to come to terms with the expression of the democratic will. And what some troublemakers, such as Margaret Mutu and Annette Sykes, are trying to do, two well-known rebel-rousers in the Māori world, what they're trying to do is pit their conception of the Treaty of Waitangi and Indigenous rights against the popular, free, democratic election outcome. They're trying to pretend that the New Zealand First and the current government and our legitimate democratic mandate is of less significance to what they conceive to be their Indigenous rights. Therefore, we should moderate and we should distort, quite frankly, our mandate to suit what their conception of Indigenous rights is. That's just never going to happen. That's the very thing that enabled and motivated people to vote for a reset. And this notion that the government is delegitimising Māori things or undermining the language is part of this faddishness which is rippling through certain parts of Māoridom, driven by the Green Party and the Māori Party, that somehow we lack legitimacy in terms of effecting a greater...
What can be more legitimate than a general election?
That is what they are about to learn over the next 3 years.
All right. How many people are attending? Are all significant tribal Māori groups attending this weekend?
Yeah, I think that each of the major iwi will have a representation there, but I only hope prior to attending this meeting they read the coalition agreement, because there's such a huge level of disinformation. But the coalition agreement reflects the manifesto, and the manifesto was voted upon by all of New Zealanders, and every single Kiwi had an opportunity to acquaint themselves with the manifesto. If they chose not to, that's on their head.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. What significance or relationship, Shane, do you think this meeting has to what might happen at Waitangi? And I'd also be interested, because David Seymour talked about your views on Ratana.
Oh, okay then. Well, there's a long, fond association between New Zealand First and the Ratana people. And indeed, our leader, Winston Peters, a very musical whānau, one of his uncles was one of the original bandmasters. So I think when you witness us going there, and even when Labour goes there, it's part of New Zealand's political heritage.
Yep.
I understand David has pointed out that the Treaty of Waitangi event at Waitangi has a more kind of state/constitutional dimension to it. He's not wrong there.